And welcome back, students. We have talked a lot about a couple of different cool things, particularly how selection tools can be pretty powerful. However, today I want to take us back to those selection tools and look at a few other features that we haven't had time yet to explore that can be very useful for what we can do when creating pixel art or other types of images. So let's go ahead and head over to our marquee tool to start. So that's our rectangular marquee tool. I'm going to go ahead and select that. And just to kind of recap how this works, if I click and drag, I'm just going to reset these to black and white here. Click and drag a selection. You can see it doesn't have anything in here right now, but now that I have a selection here, it's very easy to come in. For example, I come and do a gradient, and you can see it'll fill just that region. All right, or I could do, like, for example, I can change it to a paint bucket. Maybe I want to make this more, let's go blue today. All right, and of course right now, because I have a gradient here, it's just going to fill in that one sector. No big deal. We, of course, could just back this up here to where we don't have a gradient, and we can fill it with solid color. All right, but what if, let's say, I wanted to put two shapes inside each other? So let's say I have this shape right here with this, and let's say I want to go ahead and put a shape inside of this. I want to go ahead and add a shape within the shape. Well, I could, of course, come in here, do another selection. I could remove that with the delete key. Pretty simple to do, but is there a quicker and easier way to do this? And the answer is yes. So I'm just going to go ahead and clear this whole canvas out. So edit and clear. And now let's go ahead and use this rectangular tool here and add in some additional features that we hadn't yet talked about before. So one of the things is here in the select menu, we have the ability to come in here and change how some of these selections are done. So you can see there, these selections right now are grayed out. So let's go ahead and just make a quick selection here with the rectangular tool. And it doesn't really matter what size it is. We're still on a 64 by 64 canvas. And right now we've gone ahead and made our rectangular selection. Now though, you'll see I have the ability to add some modifiers in here. So these are really handy if I say, I made a selection of something and oh no, I didn't quite make it big enough. And I want to go ahead and just make it just a little bit bigger, or I made it too big, I need to shrink it back down. Rather than going through and redrawing the rectangle, I can use grow to make it bigger, and you can see it increases in size. Or I can use the rectangular tool. Let me just go ahead and deselect that. Let's go ahead and make a small rectangle this time. And if I use grow again, you can see it's big. So make it a little bigger this time so you can see it. And now we have similar, which of course is going to kind of make this as similar as possible. Now, these are of course just with a rectangular tool. Well, how does this look like an elliptical tool? So I'm just going to click off here. Let's go ahead and draw elliptical tool. And you can see here's kind of our circular selection. And again, I have the ability to grow and similar. But what I really want to point out, this is what we can use for both rectangular and the elliptical tool, is these modify commands. And these, of course, allow us to very easily do things like border, smooth, contract, feather. These are the powerful things that we can do. And I'm going to show you specifically just what border does today, but you can go ahead and play around with some of these other settings here to try and see what they do with your selection. So I'm going to go ahead and click on border. And what that border is going to do is it's going to ask you, how wide do you want this border to be? And I'm going to leave it at 4 pixels for now. And if I go ahead and click on OK, you will see what it does. It creates a border of 4 pixels within that selection. So now, instead of simply doing one circle that I can fill, I have a circle within a circle. And let's just see how this works with our traditional gradient and fill buckets that we would use for. So let's use the fill bucket first. I'm going to go ahead, click on it, and you can see it has filled that entire region in now. All right, and you can see, oh, look at that. That's pretty awesome. All right, not too bad. Let's see that with a gradient now. All right, so let's go ahead and swipe a gradient in there. And oh, look, it has, even though we have a little bit of feathering going on here within this, we do see, though, that we, of course, are having the gradient largely constricted to this zone that we have created. All right, let's see that now with a rectangular selection. So let's go ahead and change this to rectangular marquee. I'm going to go ahead and just make a rectangle. Let's go ahead and do select, modify, and border. Again, we're going to choose, let's say, 3 pixels this time. And you can see I've made a 3 pixel border here for this rectangular selection. Let's go ahead and just do a gradient. I'm going to choose a different color this time. Let's do a little different tone of blue. And I'm just going to draw this from this corner to this corner. So I'm not even necessarily restricting myself inside of this selection that I have. So I'm actually crossing through the middle of it. And you can see that even though I crossed through the middle of the selection, it still applies that gradient as though the selection was there. But what Photoshop is doing here, it's actually saying, hey, I don't want you to fill in that middle selection. I want you to ignore what we have right here in the middle. And that, of course, can be very powerful for us when we start making different kinds of shapes. Just wanted to point this out to you today so to give you a little bit more power and ability when we start working with things and how you can use these selection modifiers to make your artwork more powerful.